Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Motorhead Garage is presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Thank you once again for tuning in to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now, I've seen the name Amsoil at the racetrack and a lot of places on motorcycles, snowmobiles, all kinds of power sports vehicles, Len. But you guys are so much more than just racing and power sports, aren't you?
That's correct. We have product for anything from your string trimmer all the way up to over-the-road trucks. It's really anything in between, we have product.
For a lot of folks that haven't heard of Amsoil, it's been around for a long time.
It is. Our founder, Al Amatuzio, he was a fighter pilot in the National Guard in Minnesota, and he noticed that they use synthetic oil in those jets that he was flying. Well, when he got out, he decided, I'm going to try that with vehicles. So he got to work, he started formulating product, and lo and behold, 1972, we got the first API certified motor oil.
So the first one out there, there's synthetics everywhere now, but Amsoil was the first in that game.
In the synthetic market, that's correct.
And the most experienced at it. So what's the development process like?
Depending on what type of equipment we're going to test, the process it can change, but it's very, very similar. I know that sounds odd, but generally we'll start in something small because we know that we're likely going to break some stuff, which we do. We have a large test facility at Amsoil, and we break stuff. And we go through it. If we're looking at two-stroke oil for string trimmers, we'll start there. We'll start formulating, and as we break things, the lab is right upstairs. We can make a change, rerun that again in the same day, and we continue to formulate. And we use the API specs, different types of specs as a guide, but a lot of times we are looking at the appetite of that equipment for product, so it becomes very, very specialized in how you actually build that product. So you have to get the product itself, you got to build the oil, then you have to test it in the lab and in the field. So we do a ton of time testing at Amsoil just to be sure that the stuff is going to do what we say it's going to do.
How much do you get racers or end users coming to you saying, I need a product that does X, Y, and Z, and there's nothing out there to do it?
A lot, because if you get into racing and you get into some of these different extreme sports, the oil becomes critical because it is what's actually keeping metal from touching metal. And if that happens, wear occurs and things break. And the racetrack, you know as well as I do what's at stake there. It's the difference between winning and ending up in the pit. So we spend a ton of time working with race teams. We spend a ton of time using race teams for research because they are going to put the oil in these extreme situations that we can then formulate for and make sure that the oil is, performing like it should.
And so it works in extreme situations like racing, you mentioned, and in some of these smaller engines that make such high revs and that sort of thing. So what are some of the other products you offer besides just engine oil?
We've got everything, really. That's the short answer. The longer answer is we've got power steering fluid. We have different fuel additives. We have gear lubes. We have hydraulic oil, compressor oil. I mean, I can keep going here on and on and on, but we really have product for basically everything. Passenger car light trucks is a very big one as well for us, just your average vehicles that you run into the grocery store in.
And of course, we have the UTV over here. You guys have some specialized products for UTVs.
We do. Basically, all of our products are specialized. As I was talking about, we kind of tune the product to that particular appetite of the equipment. In the case of the UTV, they have some unique things. These things continue to grow and get more powerful, and you're stressing the differentials, the transmissions, the engines. So we have to adjust and formulate to make sure that it's doing its job.
And the UTVs are a huge market. It's exploding. Another one is we have the Jeep over here, is off-roading, and Jeeps in particular. So what kind of products are folks with the Jeeps using?
Well, if you look at that Jeep, it's modified. It's got lift, it's got tires, it's kind of cool looking vehicle. But if you look underneath there, the axles in that Jeep are still stock, and that's common. People go lift and they go tires as they're going to try out off-roading and things like that. But as you add the lift and you add the tires to it, you start adding stress on the differentials or the transmission and the transfer case, and all of that stress ends up on the oil, whether it's the transfer case oil or the axle or the motor. All of that stress ends up there, and if that fails, you start getting wear and parts break. So you have to consider that, and that's why we try and build these products for what's going to happen to the oil. We take the extreme situations, so it's not just you getting groceries with your Jeep, it's the guy that's going to put it at a weird angle and make it do all kinds of crazy stuff. That's where we build the oil to perform.
Len, you brought a lot of stuff here, and this is just scratching the surface on the line you have at Amsoil. How do I know what I need?
It's pretty easy. You can just go to Amsoil.com and you can jump on our lookup guide. And whether it's a UTV like we talked about or this Jeep behind me, you can find product for both of those pieces of equipment. You just select your equipment, punch in your year and the oil, the proper oil with the proper amount. I think we even have the torque specs on your drain plugs. It's all right there in front of you. So we try and make it as simple as possible because we understand that this can be overwhelming.
You can depend on Amsoil because these guys test it to extremes, and I love that. Also, it's made in the USA. You can check out Amsoil at amsoil.com, and you can check out more cool products when we come back to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Keep it right here.